ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री श्री कृष्ण बलराम की गौर निताय की जय। लक्ष्मी नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। So this is in a sense, in gist, how Swayambhuva Manu achieved perfection in his very life. Very beautifully it is described here. Sa evam swaantaram ninye. He passed his time, which lasted for very long time. Yuganam eka saptatim. 71 cycles of the yugas. But what is important is not the amount of time we have. What is more important is how we spend that time. Swayambhuva Manu, even though he had a very long life, he utilized every moment in the service of the Lord, in devotional service. That is what it says. How did he pass his life? Vasudeva prasangena. Everything in relation to Vasudeva. And what happened when he passed his life in performing devotional service in connection with Lord Vasudeva? Paribhuta gati trayaha. In this very lifetime, he was able to transcend the three destinations. He crossed over this material nescience, ocean of this birth and death, and went back to Godhead. So in the purport, Prabhupada is explaining some very interesting, is giving some very important information from the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada says, these three destinations which are mentioned here, Gati Trayaha, they are described in two ways in the Vedic scriptures. But these three destinations are not meant for people who are transcendental. Those who are absorbed like Swayambhuva Manu in the devotional service of the Lord, they easily transcend these three destinations. But those who are under the control of three modes of material nature, they are subjected to these three destinations. So Vedic literatures have very nicely described two divisions of this Gati Trayaha. One is called the three stages of our life: Jagrati, Swapna and Susupti. Jagrati, Prabhupada explains, when we are in awakened condition, our consciousness is very strong, our consciousness is very acute. Correct? Somebody says some words, something, immediately we perceive. We feel pains, pleasures, not only related to the gross body, even of the mind. When we are in swapna stage, sleeping, dreaming stage, consciousness is there, it is not very active. We are not aware of the gross body. What is happening? Something is going on in the mind, we are only aware of that. So, consciousness is present, it's not very active. It is active, but not very active. And then, the third stage is called as susupti, practically unconscious stage. Neither we are active in the dream, we are not even dreaming, neither we are conscious of external world. So, Prabhupada says, consciousness in some way or other becomes subdued and it's practically not working. That is called susupti. So how it happens is very nicely explained in the Vedic scriptures. This is very interesting analysis. When we go to sleep, first stage is Jagrata, awakening. Then slowly we go into dreaming stage, Swapna. And then gradually we will enter into Susupti. Even the dreams are gone, practically we are unconscious state. Similarly, when we get up in the morning, it is again like this. Just like gradually from awakening, we went to Swapna, then we went to Susupti. So from Susupti also it goes back like this. So we are in unconscious stage, then dreaming starts. Early in the morning when you get up, you will have had few dreams. Sometime you'll remember. And then we awaken from that. So as it goes, similarly it comes down. Now why this is very important, Vedic literature explains these three stages. Because actually death is nothing but susupti for long time. Actually there is nothing to be afraid of death. Every day, practically for few hours, we are in unconscious stage. Death is nothing but, suppose if we have to get a human birth, Prabhupada explains this. Let us say, after giving up this body, we have to get a human birth. So death is nothing but 7 months lying unconscious in the womb of mother. Just like for 1 hour, 2 hours in Susupti, we lie unconscious. Similarly, death means for a longer period, say around 7 months, lying unconscious. We are completely unaware of the present life. Just like when you sleep, you are not aware of anything. I am father of such and such, I work here, I don't work here, nothing. You are not aware, you are completely cut off from the external world. Similarly, death means we become completely cut off from everything, external world. And we lie in dormant, unconscious state for around 7 months. How this happens is very nicely explained in Bhagavatam. Kapila Muni explains this very nicely. So he explains what happens is when this gross body becomes annihilated, when this gross body does not exist anymore. That means, let us say for example, meet with an accident, somebody is diseased, somebody gets a heart attack. So this gross body becomes annihilated, it is no more functioning, it is no more working. And then later on, let us say either he is buried or he is, burnt into fire. The body is burnt into fire. So the gross body dismantles, it is finished. Then what happens to the soul? The soul remains with subtle body at that time. Man, buddhi and ahankara. This subtle body, whatever is the impression stored in this subtle body, according to our karma, whatever we have performed, karmana devanetrena, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, the soul is carried by the subtle body to the next body. So very nicely, Prabhupada gives a beautiful example. Prabhupada says, let us say one clerk is working in one company. When the clerk is working in the company, by his situation, by his working condition, how he works, he is creating two situations. Either promotion, demotion, or he may stay at the same place. Correct? So similarly, karmana deva netrena means, similarly, we are also creating our situation like this. Either we are promoted, we are demoted, or we may remain in the same place. So how this happens? This subtle body, according to the karma, will carry the soul to the next body. How it carries? Prabhupada gives a very simple example to make us understand. Actually, it's not very difficult to understand. Just like when you have desire, when we have a very strong desire, I want to go to America, you want to go to foreign land, isn't it? Then what happens? These desires are the one which carry us finally. It begins with our desires. So similarly, the subtle body, according to the supervision of the Lord, it is placed in the semen of man. So, mind, intelligence and ego, where it carries not directly to the womb. First it carries to the semen of man, or of whatever, in whatever species of life we are entering. And then from the semen of man, male, it is transferred to the womb of mother at the time of conception. So at that time, the mother, the different ingredients are provided to form a gross body is provided by the mother. So that is very nicely explained in Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada explains how this happens. He gives an example. He says, just like under chloroform, unconsciousness, the surgical operation takes place, you do not understand, you do not perceive pains and pleasure, but you remain for a certain hours unconscious. Correct? Actually, we have, at least those who have undergone operations, they understand. Chloroform or some kind of anesthesia is given and we become completely unconscious. And then surgical operations are performed and we are not aware of all those things. So similarly, this transformation of the soul from one body to another happens in this unconscious stage, like in chloroform. Just like at that time the surgeon is doing all those things, we are not aware. Similarly, we are not aware. The moment we leave this gross body, we become completely cut off. We are in unconscious state. And then the soul is carried under the supervision of the Lord by material nature, by the subtle body to the next body. So, then for 7 months, the living entity remains unconscious. And very nicely it is described in Bhagavatam. One by one, all the different layers of the body are formed. Totally there are 24 material elements of which this material body is formed. So Prabhupada explains, Bhagavatam is saying, we become covered with these 24 layers practically. This gross body is made up of these 24 elements. So, we become just like from chloroform, when the chloroform effect is over, then gradually dreaming stage, you become awakened. Similarly, in the womb of the mother, after 7 months, gradually we become awakened. We regain consciousness. And then we start feeling pains and pleasures. The child in the womb of the mother starts feeling pains and pleasure at around 7 months. And actually we have experience. Something the mother eats, something bitter, the child gets affected and he starts shaking his hands and legs. Some outside, some sound is there, some blast happens. The child becomes afraid in the womb of the mother. He becomes conscious. So all these things happen. So, Bhagavatam is saying, Prabhupada says, therefore, Rishabdev is advising that our so-called pains and pleasures, they are actually artificial. See what happens? The soul is slowly covered with, first there is a subtle body, and then all these 24 elements cover up the soul. And the soul becomes attached. It is already there in the subtle body, then it becomes gradually attached to the gross body. In the child, when the child is very small, he does not feel even so much pain and pleasure of the body also sometimes. You pinch, or you make him to laugh or something, very, very small. It's very difficult. He does not feel pains and pleasure at that time. Gradually, he develops into his consciousness. So, actually we can try to recognize at some stage we are not aware of the body. At some stage gradually we start becoming aware of pains and pleasure of the body. So Bhagavatam explains, we can logically understand these pains and pleasure do not belong to us. You see? Then you will say, but what happens? We feel so much pain and pleasure. Something happens, somebody cuts my hand, somebody insults me, we become so painful. And you are saying that actually these are all artificial pains and pleasure. Rishabdev says that very nicely in Bhagavatam. He says, Na sadhu manye yata atmanah ayam asan api kleshada asha deha. All these pains and pleasure are simply the product of this gross and subtle material body. It has nothing to do with the soul. So, further, that's how we find Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. What should be done? When Krishna is explaining this to Arjuna, when Arjuna is so much aggrieved, so much afflicted with pain that he has to kill his own people, Krishna is advising, in this condition, you just need to tolerate it. That is called tapasya. Why this is important, we will try to understand. Why tapasya is important, why it is said. So Prabhupada explains there in that reference. He says, Asangayam Purushaha. The soul actually has nothing to do with matter. It's completely untouched by matter. Actually, that is the reality. But our consciousness has become absorbed in matter. We have become attached to matter. You see? So what is required at the present moment? We just have to learn to tolerate these pains and pleasure, because at this moment we cannot transcend them. We are not in position of transcending. But if we want to transcend, the first step is we have to learn to tolerate. If the more we become afflicted, it is not possible to transcend them. That we have to learn to tolerate. So, Prabhupada is giving a very wonderful example, because somebody may wonder how this, we feel so much pain and pleasure. Something happens to the body, we feel so much pain and pleasure. Actually very simple. Just like even in chloroform condition, just try to understand. If so many things are happening to the body, you don't feel pain and pleasure. Isn't it? Somebody is very strong in his mind. Very strong in his mind. Just like I think it was Hitler or Napoleon, Prabhupada gave an example. When he was to be operated, he was so strong, he said, I don't require your chloroform. I want to see how you are cutting and how you are doing surgery. And the surgery was performed like that. Because he was very strong in mind, he did not feel. So actually just try to understand the pain and pleasure, it is just because of the connection the soul is giving with this gross and subtle body. Somehow or other, if by chloroform, so many things are happening to your body and you are not aware. Isn't it? So Prabhupada gives a very wonderful example to make us understand how this is so. How attachment to this material body is the cause of pain and pleasure. Is the attachment. Otherwise, logically we can understand pains and pleasure do not belong to the soul. Somehow or other, by some mechanical arrangement also it is possible to cut off pain and pleasure to the soul. So, there is a spiritual way to become completely cut off from the pains and pleasure of this material world. So Prabhupada gives a very wonderful example. I'll just read this. Prabhupada, I have several times given this example that a person has got a good car and it is somehow or other broken and he becomes upset because his car, although he knows I am not this car, but his thoughts being absorbed by the attraction of the car, when the car is broken, somehow or other he becomes almost unconscious, very much pained. Something happens to the car, something happens to something which we are very attached, it pains us so much. So actually we can try to understand it is just out of attachment. We are attached to our, see how the attachment begins is first with the body. Okay. It begins with the body, aham, then mameti. So many people are dying out of coronavirus and all these things. We are not getting affected. Every day we are reading. 400 people died in India. Okay, something we'll be worried. We are not so much affected, we are not crying. But something happens to somebody who had a connection with this body, we become pained. Suppose we get a telephone call, your brother or your sister or your uncle has died out of coronavirus, we become so pained. See? Out of attachment. That attachment is aham mameti, anything related to the body. Imagine how much more attachment we have to this material body. Something connected to the material body, we have so much attachment. Our wealth, our house, our all those things. Isn't it? Imagine how much more attachment we have to this material body. That is the whole source of pain and pleasure. So isn't it important, so important that human life should be utilized to get out of this so-called material attachment? See? That's the most important thing. So, Prabhupada is saying, so this is due to our attachment. Spiritual life means how to get out of this attachment. That is spiritual life. We know what is wrong. Somebody may say, what is wrong if we are attached? The wrong is, so long we remain attached to this temporary, illusory thing, you will not be able to get out of it. So this, now we can try to understand why it is important to get out of these three conditions of life: awakening, Jagrati, or Swapna, Susupti. Because these three stages of life is concerned with this material existence. Bhava. Prabhupada explains what is bhava. Just like in Jagrati we are conscious, in Swapna we are little conscious, when Susupti completely unconscious. Similarly, nothing but this bhava is also like that. Sometimes we are conscious, sometimes when we get a body we become conscious, when we die we become unconscious. 7 months. This is called bhava. Bhava means again and again become, and again now become, don't become. You see? Take birth, die. That is called bhava. So, Prabhupada is saying, this is the whole program. Therefore, Krishna is advising, Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya. Krishna is giving the explanation. Pain and pleasure is arising because of touch of material body with sense objects. Sparsha, it is because of sparsha. And we identifying with that sparsha. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshana sukha dukkhadaha. Sukha and dukkha is just like shita and ushana. When it is hot, it gives us trouble. When it becomes too cold, it gives us trouble. So what we need to do? We need to tolerate. Right? So that is the thing. So that is spiritual tapasya. That will not endure. Better tolerate it. Tolerate. When one can learn how to tolerate these temporary so-called pains and pleasure, then he is advanced. That is why Krishna is asking us to tolerate, then we become advanced. In Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj explains about this. When he was about to die in another 7 days, there he expresses that the best thing to do to come out of this bhava, again and again coming and becoming in this material world, is to simply use our time in Krishna consciousness. Just hear, talk about, remember about the Supreme Lord. So there he recites the words. He says, Bhava oshadhat shotro manobhiramat. He says, not only it is actually pleasurable, it is also bhava oshadhi. In the beginning, for our material bhava roga, it will act as bhava oshadhi. So Prabhupada says, that's a fact. Only remedy is bhava oshadha shotro manobhiramat. This is recommended by Maharaj Parikshit. He said, this Krishna consciousness is bhava-oshadhi. Bhava-oshadhi means bhava. Bhava means repeated birth and death. Bhava means you be and again you not be. Not be for few months. So this is actually material world. So here we can see, it's very nicely explained, that by his Krishna consciousness, Swayambhuva Manu was able to come out of this Gati Trayaha. Paribhuta, he transcended Gati Trayaha, these three destinations. Then further Prabhupada is explaining what are the other three destinations the Vedic literature describes, which devotee is able to transcend. So we are able to transcend these three destinations: awakening stage, Susupti stage, Swapna stage. Sometimes we are unconscious, sometimes we are conscious. The devotee comes out of this, he is completely conscious, becomes eternally conscious. Not that sometime we are conscious, sometime we are unconscious, isn't it? He comes out of this bhava, he goes to another world where life is eternal. Correct? So another 3 destinations are explained in the Vedic literature. The other 3 destinations is higher planetary systems, middle planetary systems, and lower planetary systems. These are also meant for people who are under the 3 modes of material nature. When we are in goodness, we go to higher planets. When we are in the mode of passion, we remain in the middle planetary systems. And when we are in ignorance, we go to planets lower than the earth, where life is of animalistic kind. So, a devotee absorbed in Krishna consciousness is able to transcend even these 3. Where does it say in Bhagavad Gita? Prabhupada is quoting one verse. He is not quoted here, but Prabhupada is saying. That is that. How does a devotee transcend the 3 modes of material nature? Mam chayo avya vicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan sammaitetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Immediately he comes to the platform of Brahman. And what is that Brahman platform? How do we understand somebody is on Brahman platform? Brahma bhuta prasannatma. He becomes completely joyful, jubilant. So, if devotees are not jubilant, that means we are not Brahma bhuta, we are still material bhuta. We are still on material platform. Because Brahma bhuta means prasannatma, is always jubilant. Why are we suffering, or why do we have pains and all these things? Why we are not prasannatma? Sochati kankshati. When we are lamenting and hankering, when we are in duality of this material world, then we can understand we are on material platform. When we are jubilant and no more hankering, no more lamentation, then we are on spiritual platform. There is a similar verse in Bhagavatam also, in the 4th canto, Prachetas, with respect to their consciousness, very nicely it is explained. Navyat dhridaye yad gno brahma etad brahma vadibihi na muhyanti na sochanti na hrisyanti yato gataha. That when one transcends these 3 modes of material nature, then the person, he undergoes a complete transformation. He neither becomes jubilant in material happiness, na hrishyati, na sochati, neither he laments, na muhyanti, neither he is bewildered. You see? What is that state called? Brahma etad Brahmavadibihi. Brahmavadibi means these great personalities who are called Brahmavadis, they call it Brahman platform. How does a devotee experience this? Navyat dhradaye yad gno. The Supreme Lord, who is situated as a super soul, knower of everything, yad gno. By his mercy, the devotee experiences everything fresh and new in his life. Navyat dhradaye yad gno. So Prabhupada very nicely translates this. Always engaging in the activities of devotional service. Just like here we are seeing Swayambhuva Manu, always engaged in relation, in all his activities in relation with Vasudeva. Okay? What does it say? Paribhuta gatitrayaha Vasudeva prasangena, in relation with Lord Vasudeva. So devotee feels ever increasingly fresh and new in all their activities. Actually, this is a symptom of advancement. The more devotees are feeling encouraged, the more you feel, I want to do more and more for Krishna. The more you want to attend kirtans, the more you want to chant, the more you want to read, then we can understand Paramatma is inspiring us, giving us newer and newer taste in our life. The more you are feeling hackneyed, old, stale, pale, and the more you are thinking, better I will go out and do something else, then we can understand the Lord somehow or other, we are not able to please Him, and we are not getting that ever fresh rasa which the Lord is awakening in devotee's heart. So, the all-knower, the super soul within the heart of the devotee makes everything increasingly fresh. This is very wonderful. We had only heard about Upadrashta, Anumanta, right? We were only thinking the Lord has only these two kinds of work. What is the work we were thinking? Upadrashta, he is just watching the activities and he is only giving Anumati. No. For the devotees, the Lord becomes active. Elsewhere we find in Bhagavatam also, Prabhupada explains. The moment we get Vasudeva Katha Ruchi, Prabhupada explains the Lord as Paramatma in our hearts becomes very active. He takes charge of cleansing the heart of such a devotee, because it's very difficult. All these kinds of anarthas we have accumulated, we cannot wipe them away. Right? Anybody remembers that verse? Raghutam? Vidhunoti Suhrad Satam. The Supreme Lord, He becomes activated in the heart. He takes the responsibility of cleansing away the heart of the devotee. Isn't it? Yeah. Punya Shravana Kirtana. Right? That is the shloka. This is known as Brahman position by the advocates of absolute truth. In such a liberated stage, one is never bewildered, nor does one lament or become unnecessarily jubilant. This is due to Brahma Bhuta situation. In the purport, Prabhupada says something very interesting. Devotee is inspired by the super soul within the heart to advance in devotional service in varieties of ways. See? This is how the devotee receives inspiration. Varieties of way to advance in devotional service. Not hackneyed, one type, stereotype, we call it stereotype, only one direction. No. Devotee gets inspiration to advance in varieties of ways in devotional service. Devotee does not feel hackneyed or stereotyped, nor does he feel that he is in a stagnant position. Devotee does not feel, oh, I have become stagnant in one position, cannot advance further. No. Devotee is always inspired by the super soul in his heart. Tesham satata yukta nam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Then Prabhupada is quoting Jiva Goswami. Srila Jiva Goswami in this connection says, super soul, plenary expansion of personality of Godhead exists in everyone's heart, but in the heart of devotees, He reveals Himself as ever increasingly new. Even though the Lord is situated in everyone's heart, but in the heart of a devotee, He is always like fresh, new. Being inspired by Him, the devotee experiences increased transcendental bliss in the execution of devotional service. So, the more we spend time, the more we do our sadhana properly, the more we absorb our mind in Krishna consciousness, increasingly we will be able to feel pleasure in devotional service. See? So this is how devotee transcends these three modes of material nature. Another final, very interesting thing which Prabhupada is saying in the purport, and with that we will stop. So Prabhupada is saying, actually, devotee does not have to wait till he gives up this body to become liberated from three modes of material nature. We should not be thinking, oh, when I die, when I give up this gross body, then only it will be possible. No. Bilva Mangala Thakur explains, in this very life, devotee can experience that Mukti Devi will be standing in front of the devotee asking him, how can I serve you? You see, that is the position of bhakti. That mukti for which people aspire so much will be standing with folded hand. This is explained very much right in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Dharma projita keitvo atra parmo nirmatsaranam satam. Can somebody explain what is that dharma? Prabhupada very beautifully explains what is dharma. Our real dharma we understand, constitutional position, that is different. That there, where it is said dharma projita, this kind of dharma. Dharma is considered to be these four activities. Pious activities, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So, dharma projita, all these four activities are thrown away from Bhagavatam. Devotees are not concerned with dharma, artha, kama, moksha. You see? Right in the very beginning. And Bhagavatam what is this establishing? Parama, absolute truth. And absolute truth can be approached by whom? Not by materialistic people. Nirmatsaranam satam. Devotees who are non-envious. Prabhupada explains why there is enviousness. When one wants sense gratification, there is enviousness. When one wants this dharma, artha, kama, moksha, then there will be enviousness. Devotees are not in competition of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So where is enviousness? He is not envious. All society, economic development, so much of competition is going on, rivalry is going on. Isn't it? So that's why there is enviousness. So devotees are completely free from all these things. So how one proceeds from, in this material, this situation, how one goes from one stage to another is also very nicely explained. One takes to dharma for what? Not for getting liberated. One is taking to dharma for economic development. Dharma for artha. Correct? And if you can get money somehow or other without dharma, then dharma is not required. Today's material world is like that. Why we need to go to temple? Why churches are empty? We are getting our economic development without this. Correct? So that's why dharma is also neglected. So dharma is required for artha. Why artha is required? For satisfying our desires, kama. And when one becomes baffled in trying to enjoy this material world, then he looks for moksha. Then he is trying for moksha. But devotee is not interested in all these things. Correct? So I'll just read this very interesting, what Bilva Mangala Thakur says. Therefore, one who fully engages in devotional service is always liberated. Bilva Mangala Thakur, a great devotee of the Lord, stated, if I have unflinching devotion to the lotus feet of Krishna, then mother liberation is always engaged in my service. The complete perfection of material enjoyment, religion, economic development is at my command. People are after dharma, artha, kama, moksha, all these things are there. Devotees do not, this in the end Prabhupada is saying, devotees do not care for these. They are situated always on the transcendental platform of Brahmabhuta stage of self-realization. So this is what we can practically see in the life of Swayambhuva Manu. So we'll stop with this. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.